We often hear this advice, don't we? That constant reading is, well, fundamental for personal growth. The more books you read, the more you develop.
It's certainly a prevailing idea, that piling up information automatically leads to becoming a better version of yourself.
But today, we want to explore something a bit counterintuitive.
Indeed. We're going to look at how this constant drive for more information, especially from books or similar sources, might actually paradoxically get in the way of real progress.
We're sort of diving into how this overconsumption can build up what you might call an illusion of more.
An illusion of more, yes. It's this belief that just by gathering heaps of information, you're automatically moving forward.
So you keep buying books, subscribing to more newsletters, listening to more podcasts perhaps, all expecting some big breakthrough.
But the sheer volume itself can just become noise, like intellectual static that actually makes it harder to really understand things or put them into practice.
This illusion of more really does trick you, doesn't it? Into believing that intake equals progress. And, well, that could be quite detrimental.
It's a definite paradox, especially with how much self-help material is out there now. Having access to different perspectives is good, of course, but the constant flow can lead to this state of saturation, information overload, basically.
And this constant consuming, you mean? It pushes aside the actual doing, the creating, the synthesizing, the applying.
Precisely. Perpetual input. If there's no real purposeful action following it, it risks just becoming, well, an intellectual hobby rather than genuine development.
It's like having too many tabs open on your browser, maybe. Everything slows down.
That's a good analogy. It can certainly feel like that.
And, highlighting passages, taking notes, that feels productive. It feels like you're doing something tangible moving forward.
It does create that sense of activity. But the crucial question we need to ask ourselves and ask you listening is whether that activity actually translates into real change. Changes in behavior, or a deeper understanding.
Often, isn't it true that reaching for the next book, the next article, can be a subtle way to procrastinate?
It can be. Learning feels like progress, and it avoids the vulnerability and the risk that comes with actually trying something new, with applying what you've learned.
Because growth doesn't just come from knowing more, does it? It comes from actively becoming something different.
That's the heart of it. Knowing versus becoming. Furthermore, if you're constantly consuming very similar information just from different authors or speakers, that adds to a kind of mental clutter.
Can you give an example?
Well, think about reading 10 books on, say, productivity. You encounter all these slightly different methods, different hacks, different philosophies.
And instead of feeling empowered, you might just feel overwhelmed.
Exactly. Overwhelmed, maybe confused. It can lead to this weird inertia where you don't know which advice to actually follow, so you end up doing nothing.
So the accumulation of all these perspectives, if you don't properly process them and filter them, can actually muddy your own thinking.
It can obscure your own clarity, your own inner voice. And sometimes that confusion might even be misinterpreted as being, intellectually deep or nuanced.
So connecting this back to personal development, the implication is that more isn't always better.
Far from it, sometimes. The focus probably needs to shift.
From just consuming more towards what? Being more deliberate.
Towards deliberate curation, yes. Asking tougher questions about the information you choose to engage with.
Questions like?
Questions like, which books, which teachings have actually demonstrably changed how I behave? Not just what I think, but what I do.
Am I really applying what I'm learning, or am I just sort of hoarding ideas, like collecting stamps but never sending a letter?
And also, which voices, which perspectives truly resonate with my core values, with the direction I genuinely want to move in?
Maybe try something like a one-in, one-out rule. For every new podcast you listen to or book you read, you make a point to actively apply or synthesize something from a previous one.
That's a practical approach. Curation really requires discernment. It requires a conscious effort to look for depth, for applicability, over just what's new and shiny.
It sounds like a more mature way to learn, maybe, filtering for lasting value instead of just chasing the next trend or the next promise of a quick fix.
It is, and paradoxically, when you become more selective about what you let in, the impact of what you do choose tends to be much greater. It lands more effectively.
So how can someone, practically speaking, start implementing this idea of deliberate curation in their daily learning habits?
Well, it starts with awareness, pausing before automatically consuming. But it's also crucial, I think, to remember that growth isn't only about intellectual input.
You mean it doesn't all happen just through reading and learning in that traditional sense?
Not at all. Some of the most significant shifts, the real breakthroughs, can come from places we might overlook if we're only focused on acquiring information.
Like what kind of places?
Think about the power of silence. Just intentionally creating space for quiet reflection, letting your own thoughts surface without constant external noise.
That feels almost radical in today's world.
It can feel that way. And then there are embodied practices, things like mindful movement, breathing exercises, meditation. These offer ways of knowing and growing that go beyond just the intellect.
Connecting with the body, not just the brain.
Precisely. And even simple observation. Spending time in nature, for instance, can provide insights and a sense of clarity that you just won't find in a book.
It's interesting how these seemingly passive things, silence, embodiment, nature, can actually lead to quite profound internal changes.
They absolutely can. They allow for integration, for a different kind of understanding to emerge.
So ultimately, the goal isn't just to be a collector of information, is it?
No, the goal is to shift towards becoming an active creator, an embodied leader in your own life. The world needs people who can synthesize knowledge and turn it into meaningful action.
Not just people who hold vast amounts of, well, unprocessed data in their heads.
Exactly. So the next time you feel that pull, that urge to just consume more, another book, another podcast, another course,
Maybe pause. Pause and ask yourself some honest questions.
ask yourself, am I genuinely learning here to expand my understanding, my capabilities? Or am I perhaps using learning as a comfortable way to delay taking action, to put off the real-world engagement?
Because growth really boils down to aligning what you know with what you do and with your values.
And that alignment doesn't come from just accumulating indiscriminately. It comes from mindful selection, deep integration, and courageous application.
So reflect on it. Which specific books or teachings have genuinely changed your behavior? Are you consistently applying what you learn or mostly just collecting ideas?
Which voices truly align with your deepest values and your vision for the future? And maybe even ask, what do I need to stop doing to create space for more effective learning and action?
Remember that those breakthroughs can come from unexpected places. 2, silence, like you said, getting grounded in your physical experience or just noticing the world around you.
Maybe try scheduling short pockets of silence, even just 5 minutes, into your day for reflection. See what emerges.
So the final thought to leave you with is this.
Are you learning to genuinely expand your capacity for understanding and for action? Or are you, perhaps without realizing it, learning mostly to delay the very application that leads to true growth?
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Deep Thoughts Podcast. I hope you found insights and inspiration to take with you on your journey of self-growth. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on new releases and exclusive content. See you next time, where we'll continue to help you grow and explore your full potential.